All right, let's do it. Penn State. We are Penn State. I am very excited to watch Penn State this year. I think I have more anticipation watching them than any particular team in college football because of the kid Drew Aller. If you're a fan of Penn State, if you're a fan of college football, you've probably seen his hype um, on Twitter and YouTube. The kid making insane throws. There's a lot of momentum around this kid. One of the best quarterback prospects that they've had there in a long time. Last time I remember anticipation for a guy at Penn State at the quarterback position was Christian Hackenberg. So hopefully this turns out better than it turned out for him. This guy has all the tools, and if he plays up to the hype, they're definitely the national championship conversation. Now, the offensive line, they return Olu, which was a surprise. He was a top prospect in last year's draft, and he decided to come back. I don't know if it was for Drew Aller or he was just happy being in college football, but he's returned. But the area of concern that you definitely have to have is their wide receiver position. Now, they do have two guys that they got in the transfer portal, Dante Cephas from Kent State and Malik McClain from Florida State to go with Keandre Lambert. So we'll see if these guys can produce. Penn State teams in the past couple of years have had actually good wide receiver play. And it's kind of disappointing that there's not a true number one to go along with Aller, at least to help him out initially. But hey, maybe one of these guys can step up. The running back position is definitely there with Singleton and Allen. Those guys ran for 2,000 yards. The offensive line is veteran. The question that you have is the quarterback and the weapons. Are they going to be good enough? You switch over to the defensive side. Manny Diaz, former Miami head coach, came over as defensive coordinator, and they struck gold with this guy. He implemented a blitz-heavy scheme. They were very successful on defense. The magnum opus of last year, you probably say would be the Rose Bowl win, but I would say it was that game versus Ohio State. That game kind of put people on notice what this defense could do versus CJ Stroud and all the weapons that they had over there. Very competitive game, a game that I felt that they should have won if not for, JT having this out of body experience for Ohio State on the defensive end. But, they returned a lot of their players. Abdul Carter, after, hellacious freshman season, he's back. Curtis Jacobs was back. Kalen King and Johnny Dixon are back in the secondary. This is a team stock full of NFL talent and is bringing back a lot of guys, so they shouldn't miss a beat. Now, an area of concern would be the fact that in the interior, they don't have a guy that weighs more than 275 pounds. So when you play in the Big Ten versus a Michigan that likes to play smash mouth football versus an Illinois who's hyped this year under Brett Bielema that wants to play smash mouth football, or Wisconsin that wants to play smash mouth football, Ohio State that can definitely do it. Being so light up front is an area of concern. Now, they did get some guys in the transfer portal. We'll see if they're good enough, but if you have to circle a question mark on the defense, it would definitely be that. Now, when you look at the schedule, first three games are pretty light. They start off with West Virginia at home, then Delaware, and then, maybe I misspoke about the first three games being like, because then they go to Illinois. And Illinois, again, is a team that Kirk Herbstreit, one of the dons of college football, and other people I've heard at other places say that's a sneaky team to be a contender this year. So, this team is going to line it up and try to run it straight at you. So can they hold up? That's going to be a big test. Then they play Iowa, another team that is not as explosive, although they did bring in Cade McNamara from Michigan but we'll see what that looks like. But it's going to be a similar game plan. They're going to run it straight at you. And then they go to Northwestern. Usually that's a trap game in Northwestern. They generally give teams. I remember Ohio State and a lot of teams going down there. They have a lot of, dead bodies in that Northwestern graveyard. But, with all the stuff that's going on over there, they got guys naked hula hooping and all types of stuff. So obviously Pat Fitzgerald's out. So I guess this might be a influx season for them. So then you go, you have them playing UMass before they play Ohio State at Ohio State. Obviously, this is a big game for them. If they're trying to win a national championship, if they're trying to get to the playoffs, this game the game versus Michigan. Ideally, they need to win both of them, but they definitely need to win one of them. So Ohio State is a team that is starting a new quarterback as well. I would say this is probably the better chance of the two to win the game. So I think that this is just one that they're going to have to definitely win. They're going to have the mindset in their minds like, hey, we played these guys tough last year. We can beat these guys. So I think this is a big game. I think they have to win this one. Again, because just matchup wise, I don't think they match up that well to Michigan. Uh, After that game, they play Indiana. Then they play a Maryland team at Maryland, which is a real sneaky team. I love what they have going on over there. They played Ohio State last year and were up at half. Ohio State had a huge third quarter. So that's a game, especially because it bookends the Michigan game that, Penn State cannot afford to overlook. And then they play Michigan again in November, middle of November. That's when the weather starts to change again. Michigan loves these type of games. That's probably the most smash mouth team in college football. Can they hold up? Then they play Rutgers and a Michigan State team that was down last year, but I don't expect to be down 2 straight years. So this is a hell of a schedule for them. They're going from a position where they're not sneaking up on anybody. So I hate to put it all on these kids, because that's what they are. They're kids. But Drew Aller, a lot is on his shoulders. A lot. I'm sure he's eating well in the NIL, and I mean it's time to earn your keep. So hopefully he plays well. It's hard to give predictions on players you haven't really seen play and teams you haven't really seen play. I kind of think it's actually kind of insane. Especially this year, it seems like a lot of the uh perennial champions, the perennial dynasty teams, the perennial, you know, blue bloods are starting new quarterbacks. Penn State, Ohio State, Alabama. So we'll definitely see what ends up happening here. But Penn State, do they have a chance to win a national championship this year? They definitely do. And I would say probably the number one and number two area of concerns is can Drew Aller live up to the hype, and do they have enough up the middle to stop teams who want to run it straight out? All right, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, subscribe, and as always, the game is a game.